Hey everyone, this is Nitro. In this video, I am going to review yet another Summit the Langrisser Season 6 Round of 16 match, and this one is between Tomato and Leumas. So let's just begin. I mean, both players are ones who are quite well known. They both make it to the playoffs consistently, so they're great players. Okay, so Leumas is running a very dark heavy box. Okay, Kruger, Kiura, Bozel, Licorice, Zerda, right? So that makes it 5 dark characters, along with some other characters like Hobo for his mythical faction buff, Hilda with Lollygess and Florentia and Lucretia, right? Ares and Bernhard rounded out. Okay, it is interesting to note that there is no Liana in this box, so effectively the 3 healers are Florentia, Rotenseal, and Licorice. Alright, so very low on healers. Interesting overall. Okay. Tomato, on the other hand, runs a much more stereotypical box in that sense. Liana, Florentia, and Rotenseal for the 3 healers. There is Helena, there is SP Elwyn. The unique aspect may be having Luna in here, right? Luna is an interesting addition because she does the mobility buff with Wingod Realm, and her Princess Alliance faction buff will affect Lucretia and SP Cherie. So let's see how Tomato plays this out. I'm guessing he might just first pick Lucretia or SP Cherie and then follow it up with Luna. Let's see if that is the case. Alright, so let's begin and take a look at the pick ban. So Hilda ban first, not a bad choice, right? It eliminates the utility of a lot of the reincarnation heroes right there, and also gets rid of the protection against crit hits. And Tomato loses Rotenseal. So Leumas starts with Bernhard. Okay, very interesting choice there. Loses Lucretia and SP Cherie next, and Tomato starts with Kiura. Alright, so Lollygess and Lucretia are banned. This totally didn't go the way I thought it would for the first picks. Alright, Leumas plays Bozel. Okay, Ares, Kiura banned now, and Tomato plays Licorice. So there's the dark faction buff to increase Kiura's stats. So SP Cherie, Luna ban, Kruger. Alright. So Hobo, Juggler eliminated, and Florentia is played. Neither side is choosing a tank. Right. So Tomato loses Helena and Ares. Leumas plays Florentia, the Act Again character. So Lollygess and Zerda are now removed, and Tomato plays SP Elwyn. And finally, what happened there? Okay, so finally, Leumas seems to have ran out of time and could not pick anyone to ban. Okay, and Leumas will then play Licorice as the last character. So basically all dark with I guess 3 dark characters. Bernhard will buff up Florentia. So everyone's faction buffed on Leumas' side. And there is sufficient healers and so on. Just no tank. And on Tomato's side, who will he pick out of these 4? Juggler. Alright, so looking at this, I would say Leumas' SP Elwyn is going to be really difficult to deal with. Quite simply. Okay. Despite the fact that Tomato does not have a proper faction buff mix at all, like Florentia has no faction buff, for example, Juggler will have no faction buff really. I think the fact that Kiura has a faction buff and SP Elwyn has a faction buff, these 2 characters can just assault Leumas' AoE squad pretty easily. And Juggler also provides protection against those AoEs. As long as no cannot be healed debuff is applied. But basically, Leumas is both outranged, and yeah, that will really prevent the AoE assault, in my opinion. But we'll see. So yeah, Bernhard is bringing Iron Fist, the faction buff. or sorry, Bernhard is bringing Iron Fist to guard as a tank, all right, instead of Sword Dance. So Florentia has Resounding Might, Strategic Group, and Heal, which is pretty much expected. The Amazon Champions are an interesting choice, I guess, to allow Florentia to tank a hit from SP Elwyn, if that happens. And then, yeah, Bozel, Kruger, basically expected, although Kruger is bringing Dark Reaper instead of a second AoE. And then, yes, Licorice is Faction Buff, Mass Seal, and Mass Protect. Healer and terrain effects. Same thing for Licorice, Force of Darkness, Mass Heal, Mass Protect. Right? Will prevent those cannot be healed debuffs. And yeah, I really don't see any way for Leumas to stop both Keura and Elwyn though. Now the interesting thing though is if this Keura was Holy Class, it could one-shot this Bernhard. But because it is not Holy Class, it is an Assassin class with Faceless, it may very well struggle to deal with Bernhard. But that might then be the job of Elwyn. Well, let's see how this plays out. But yes, I favor the longer range maneuverability of Tomato's party in this kind of situation. So Leumas holds back. While Tomato is starting to advance a bit. There is a rush on Bozel. Now, Bozel is actually really powerful with rush, right? Because that +2 mobility will allow him to move up 5 in AoE, right? And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is actually, Elwyn is out of range. Keura isn't though. And Florentia is kept out of range. So both Elwyn and Florentia have been kept out of range of this Bozel. Heavily affected by the fact that this Bozel is running a Swords of Metal instead of Speed Boots. You know, pros and cons to it. Right? Immunity to silence, immunity to fixed damage. Right? Those are big pros. The con, of course, is the one reduced mobility, which can be a big drawback. And this is also expected that Tomato would do a first turn Keura push. So she activates the rush skill onto Keura, so Keura can strike. Now the question is, who can Keura actually assassinate as a 5-star hero with 1370 intelligence? She does have the ability to attack all these enemies. Okay? So it can hit Licorice, it can hit Kruger, it can hit Bozel. Looking at this, I would guess Kruger. Right? I'm seeing skill increases on Licorice, on Bozel, and on Florentia. That to me suggests they all have Swordsmith medals, right? Which may make them harder to kill. And I don't think Faceless can actually kill Bishops, right? Because the Bishops have the 30% increased defense. Well, let's see. Yep. So, going for the Kruger. It gets one-shotted. They teleport back. 5 on 4. Juggy jump. Boom. Now, Bozel can't maneuver forward. Leumas retreats. Yeah. I mean, that was completely over there, right? Bozel can't attack anyone. Kruger is dead. There are only Florentia and yeah. With just Florentia left and so on, totally over. Yep. Tomato quickly saw the writing on the, or sorry, Leumas quickly saw the writing on the wall and just surrendered there. Alright, so we move on to battle number 2. So were there any party adjustments? There was. Hobo was swapped out for Omega. Right. So Leumas added an extra assassin. I'm not sure that's going to make any difference here, but we'll see. Kayura ban this time, and Hilda ban yet again. So Lucretia play to start. So SP Cherie and Lollyjust are gone. Leumas plays Omega right away. Alright. So Juggler, Bernhard ban, and Luna. Ha! Remember I mentioned this on the first match? The either SP Cherie or Lucretia pick followed by Luna? We just saw it here. Okay. So Hilda, Helena ban, and Florentia is played by Leumas. So SP Cherie and Lollyjust ban, SP Elwyn. Tomato is, yeah, he likes his SP Elwyn. It's actually a pretty smart choice, in fact, as long as you're not facing a tank, right? And, you know, SP Elwyn is kind of futile if you slam him against a tank, but he is very, very powerful against any non-tank box. With the 9 mobility to attack and the revival. And the debuff removal and so on. So, Bernhard, Ares. Leumas should play Ares here, I feel. No, he played Kayura. Tomato will probably ban Ares, because Ares is like the only character that can actually truly one-shot SP Elwyn. The problem, actually, the bigger problem here is also SP Elwyn is actually going to be outranged. Or sorry, SP Elwyn will probably outrange Ares with the Luna buff. Yeah, so not very many good choices for Leumas at this point. With Lucretia, Luna, and then SP Elwyn, and no tanks. Yeah. So he went for Kayura, loses Ares and Lucretia. Tomato plays Juggler. Interesting. So Rosenseal and Florentia are removed. Leumas plays Bozel once again. And then Zerda, Kruger removed. Liena for Tomato, and Leumas will probably play Licorice again. Yeah. I mean, it's all dark but Florentia, but once again, Leumas is outranged, and Tomato still hasn't acted again from the last pick. Right? So I just feel like with Luna triggering the mobility buff, everyone can just move in, AoE hits, you know, Lucretia can charge in, maybe get act again and attack again, stuff like that. So unfortunately, I just don't see how Leumas can win this. Once again, he is completely outranged, right? And it's not like Kayura can ever kill Luna with her extremely high magic defense. So let's just see what happens. I didn't even consider this, but Elwyn's faction buff does affect Liena. Not that it really matters. Oh. Okay. Unexpectedly, Tomato is the one that's kind of holding back. Sudden Strike. So, Omega triggered Breeze, so he can move 5, then 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3. Can't hit anyone except for Elwyn. And taking down Elwyn's first life won't particularly help when Kayura can't get in range. Now that was interesting. I didn't understand that. I truly didn't understand that. Why did Tomato jump forward with Juggler? Let me just go back. Right? Even if he moves here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So why put Juggler in a position where he can get hit? I don't know. It actually doesn't really make sense to me why he did this. Now, as a side note, the interesting thing we saw here is the Amazon champions, despite being one-range soldiers, actually participate in that attack. Okay? And the reason for that is because of the Scepter of Divinity. Right? This skill has 3 range, right? And soldiers' range is increased by 1. So they would have 2 range. And if there's a Scepter on Keira, that increases range by another 1. So Flawless Wisdom actually gives these Amazon champs 3 range to actually fight there. Just a little interesting thing. Now, the question is, will Luna tank this hit? And I think it will, because of Last Rites. So yeah, Loomis doesn't choose to attack. Reign of Glory. With the mobility buff from SP Elwyn, or from Luna, right? Moved all the way up there. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold on. Wind God Realm, right? It will allow allies to pass through terrain within 2 blocks of herself for 0 movement. So that's why Elwyn still has a 5 mobility movement here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's actually interesting because he is within 2 blocks, so his first move is considered a pass-through tile. That's why he's moving 5. Loomis, I think Loomis wasn't aware of that, you know, that you could move into the very edge of the Wind God Realm area and still get a free mobility effect, right? Because most of the time, when you count the free mobilities, right, it's you count 2 additional tiles of free mobility. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then add 2 more tiles, right? But in this case, you can be on the edge of the movement tile and still get a free movement and then move 4 more, or however additional movement you have. So it's a little small thing, right? If you count it normally, Omega would be out of range because it would be 4 tiles. But because it's considered being in range, this first movement is 0. Then it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is like one of those weird little facts that you have to know about Luna. And so Omega is killed right away. Now that was interesting. I guess Keira did not use an attack skill there, right? Yeah, there is no attack skill on Keira. There was just a teleport and Faith. So without having an attack skill, the Amazon champs don't participate, right? So that's why we see just a tiny bit of damage just from Keira, because the Amazon champions aren't doing anything. A regular Luna Strike with Griffin Knights was not sufficient to take down Bozel in one shot because of the Stone Colossi, but he's knocked down to 2%. Descent of Chaos takes down the SP Elwyn First Life. Juggler Healing kicks in before the debuffs. And it looks like SP Elwyn had a gospel effect, so he's actually immune to all debuffs. Right. Juggler got slowed, Luna got slowed, but had a +3 mobility buff anyways. Lucretia got mobility debuffed. Wow, the whole party got mobility debuffed. Yeah, literally everyone got mobility debuffed but Elwyn. But so what? 2 characters down for Loomis, right? No characters dead for Tomato. and it is completely over. Right? Keira had already attacked, so she can't attack any further. Right? Licorice is a healer. Florentia is a healer. So game over. 2 games to none. So yeah, both games, Leumas basically got outraged. That's how you can sum it up, right? Not too much else to say about this one. So that's it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Nitro out.